Hey, Grand Ascension, how's everybody doing? It's me, Nisi Denise, back to do a short video. It's going to be real short. We're reading from We Will Intervene, the Warning by Claudio Naselli, aka No Scaphandrum. All right. And I just wanted to come on here and just read one short chapter while I'm at lunch because we got to get through this book. Okay. Because we've got a lot of reading to do. Okay. This part we're going to read is part 2. It's called The Ancestral Promise of Liberation. And it reads, the maps have already been opened. The routes have already been mentioned. The names of the territories and the passages and the outer seas and the dome worlds have already begun to circulate among those who felt the need to look beyond the imposed boundary. Some of those maps were delivered with caution. Others were reconstructed from fragments. Others were born from archives, testimonies, navigators, memories, ancestral records, and documents preserved within libraries that do not belong, to the official history of the known lands, which is here and within the ice walls, within the 2 poles, North and South poles, Most of them eventually focus on Helen's final journey toward the outer domes. Within the same book that I'm reading from, near the end of its pages, you will find some of the maps published in our previous works, Because cartography is clearly important, every route, every passage or portal, every region beyond the ice walls, every guarded entrance, maritime crossing, transit zones, and allied territory forms part of a structure far greater than the present humanity can still fully comprehend. Again, the reason why I'm reading this, or preface of this video, is for us to understand that the imposed system that we currently live under in this known lands or in this world is not the truth. The history has been fragmented, reset, usurped, and we are studying an alternative theory. So that's why I'm sharing this information with you, because as I said before, I can't tell who's joined me. Hi. Trump released those UAP files like last week or week before last, and all these videos. You can go on the gov.gov website and look at them. They're not telling us everything. And I'm prefacing that to state that the reason why I'm sharing this information is when they make this grand appearance of this alien race that's going to be coming about, that they're going to clearly start talking about more, right? You have to understand that the history that we've been given is not the actual truth. It's been usurped, reset, and we're talking about this so that some of you all will have a better understanding when you start seeing the stuff on the news, For those of you that still watch the news, So then it says, the cartography is clearly important. Every route, passage, portal, every region beyond the ice walls, every guarded entrance, maritime crossings, the transit zones in the oceans, and allied territory forms part of a structure far greater than the present humanity can fully comprehend. However, the problem of these times is no longer simply knowing what exists beyond the boundaries. And when I talk about boundaries, I'm talking about the North and South Pole. All right. What goes beyond that? Because there are more lands. I'm 57. Back in the 70s, I remember reading certain magazines and seeing certain things on TV talking about there were lands that they found with woolly mammoths still intact that are still alive. I remember that from back then, a long time ago. Now it's considered to be a conspiracy theory, and it's not. They're just directing our focus upward to outer space and to all these planets in outer space with NASA, but they're not talking about the boundaries beyond the ice walls. So it says, the real question now is understanding when that which exists beyond it may choose to remain silent no longer. So when we talk about extraterrestrials, we talk about these beings and these tic-tac crafts that we see on Fox News and CNN, and now they're talking about it more openly. They've even mentioned about reptilians on the news. Yeah, they've talked about it as a joke, but they brought it up. But when you talk about these other races, you're talking about beings that are extraterritorial beyond the poles. They're not in space like we've been taught. That's why I got to get you guys to understand. Got to look at it from a different perspective. So it says, for years, many searched for names. They wanted to know where the ancestral lands were, where the other dome worlds, began, what civilizations lived beyond them, and what seas connected the outer regions, and what routes had been used by my father, Butler, the Anakin, and the Navigator who came before and after them. Okay. That search was understandable. When a person discovers that the world that they inhabit was reduced, the first instinct is to expand within the mind. One must imagine the exit before truly understanding the prison. Okay. But now time demands another question. It is no longer enough to ask where those territories are. Okay. We must now ask whether those civilizations will move. And if they do, how will they do so? There are routes that were open to be used for the moment arrives. There are passages that were protected so they could be opened when the spiritual survival of humanity once again enters a state of extreme danger. They exist for moments of absolute urgency. Okay. That is why I will focus on explaining what Helen told me about the conditions under which those regions could enter into action. Okay. Because like I've said on my videos, I'm sharing information that I find interesting that really some people talk about, and it's not widely known. And I don't understand why people just aren't concerned about it, because we're too busy lifing. We're too busy living in this existence. And we're not understanding certain aspects of where we live and what this world presents, right? Because if you're indoctrinated and you're living your life, you're focused on paying your bills, working, taking care of taxes, taking care of your children, all the things that you would normally do. You're not focused on, okay, well, there's aliens. We're seeing these TikTok videos. I can't pay my bills. My rent's due. I'm getting evicted. My car's not working. You're lifing. You're not focused on that. What I'm simply telling you is the system that's currently imposed is going to collapse. Okay. And rightfully it should, because we should not be working and paying for bills and paying for things. We shouldn't be. The system it's a parasitic it's a parasitic system. And most people don't realize that. Like before the last reset, we didn't have to have passports. We didn't have driver's license. We didn't move like that, y'all. We didn't. And the majority of the people that lived at that time, they did not eat like you and I eat now. Okay. Everything's been changed. I'm telling you that. It's fascinating when you start to dig into it and you look at it for what it is. But I'm trying to go slow, and I'm trying to break off little bits of information, but I'm so pumped about this information that it's a lot. And so I may come off blah, 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 just running it down. But the basis of the bottom line you need to understand is something is getting ready to happen. Okay. And so you have to prepare yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. Okay. So in this book, she says, that is why I will focus on explaining what Helen told me about the conditions under which those regions could enter into action. There are maps that show coasts, mountains, seas, and walls, but there are other maps far more difficult to draw, maps that reveal decisions, maps of interventions during an emergency. Okay. And those routes depend entirely upon the severity of what may eventually unfold in the distance. Okay. Between one land and another is not what matters most. What matters is the signal that activates a route. Okay. What matters is the enemy movement capable of transforming a peaceful region into the starting point of a physical conflict that from our side, we will always attempt to avoid whenever possible. Okay. I will go deeper into this in the following pages, but before speaking about intervention, I must insist on this. Liberation does not begin beyond the walls. It starts here. Okay. So those extraterritorial beings, okay, people, I'm going to say people, because some of them they look like you and I, but they're different, those people are not going to intervene until we start here. Okay. Until it kicks off here. And then the government, the powers that be, can automatically say, hey, we're being invaded. This alien race showed up. This is what's happening, blah, 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 blah. They're going to try to flip it and make it seem like we're going to war with these beings, that they're a war of faction. Well, what most people don't understand is we've been invaded by beings already. We already have them in our government, in our hospitals, military, everywhere. They've been here. They've been here the whole time. But that's not the faction. We need to be concerned about the ones that are here, but I'm telling you, the ones that are coming, they're gonna try to flip it and make it seem like it's an invasion, and it's not. We've already been invaded. They're running this place now. So we need to free ourselves and free our minds. Okay. And that's why I'm trying to express in this video. All right. So it says it begins within the consciousness, right, that no longer accepts the lies at as it is at home. So everything that they're telling us right now, you got to question every freaking thing. I'm telling you, you guys know that. Y'all know that something's not right here. Okay. So it says maps may show physical exits, but the first escape always occurs within the human being when one understands that life was not created merely to repeat an imposed program, not simply to survive inside a corrupt and suffocating system. I have two friends now that are educators. One is about to basically lose their home. I'm just telling you. And it's because they can't afford to pay all of their bills now because of where they live. And it's quite sad. I'm just saying, that's just one instance. There are a lot of people that are hurting and they're suffering right now. Okay. Lost their jobs, down to one income, can't afford to eat and pay their bills. I mean, this is becoming a normal thing now. Okay. And you got to understand, the ones at the top, they're disconnected from us. They do not care about what is really going on with our lives. And when you, like today in Texas, or yesterday, we had an election, that state, whatever election. I'm not voting anymore because I don't believe in the system. I don't have any faith in these people because they're all about themselves. Politicians lie and they tell you what you want to hear. But when they get in office, they're dealing with other corrupt politicians that you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's a quid quo pro, and they're not concerned about the people now. Our government is in shambles, and this is worldwide. It's not just here in America. It's everywhere. Okay. But in some countries, it may be a little bit better, but you got to understand they're all interconnected, and the parasitic race that's over us right now, they're running everything. They're running all the governments, and people don't understand that. They're thinking it's a red or blue thing. It's here in America. It's much deeper than that. And I really need to press upon whoever sees this video. You got to understand that there's something much darker and deeper that's going on. Okay. So then it says, it begins with the consciousness that no longer accepts the lies as a home. Maps may show physical exits, but the first escape always occurs within the human being when one understands that life was not created merely to repeat an imposed program, nor simply to survive inside a corrupt and suffocating system. My father understood this late, but when he finally did, he understood it with a force that consumed him until the very end. That is why he stopped looking at the maps as objects of exploration and began seeing them as unfinished promises. Every line became to him a possibility of return. Every drawn coastline became a reminder of those who remained trapped, because we're trapped here. All right. We are trapped. I don't care how you feel. We are, because we don't have free reign to just go wherever we want to go. We don't. And if we attempted to take a trip right now to there, majority of people could not even afford it. Because I'm going to tell you, I can't afford a $30,000 trip, even a $10,000. I have to plan for it. I'm just saying, everybody's, you got disposable income, but you're not thinking about, okay, I want to exit. I want to go here. I want to do that. We're lifing. We're living. Okay. And it shouldn't be this imposed system that we're under right now. That's what I'm saying. So it says every route carried the same silent question. When will we be able to return for them? And that was ultimately his end, trying to do so from within. Today, that same question surrounds the ancestrals. Okay. All of them. And from my humble place within the story, I have come to leave their voice imprinted here so it may travel as far as possible. Okay. And she says, William Morris was not merely an explorer. To reduce him to that would be injustice. He was a witness. He was a man broken by truth, too vast to carry. He was someone who saw the structure of the prison from the outside and could no longer live as if he had not seen it. Many speak of his journey, his vessel, Butler, the passages, the thousands of maps created to overshadow the original, and the lands he found. Few understand that new inner weight he carried afterward, because crossing the walls does not fully liberate someone with a pure heart when we have left his brothers and sisters behind. Yeah. In this case, crossing those imposing walls of ice opened an even deeper wound within him. I am the daughter of that wound, of two completely different worlds. I am also the daughter of humanity that survived the attempt to erase it. Okay. So she's over 100 years old, but if she was to come here now, she would look as though she's in her 40s because you age differently. Okay. So she says, in my lands, the names of the fallen are not merely ornaments or monuments. They are taught, they are spoken, and they are preserved as warnings. Then the great Tartaria, is remembered in a very different way from how it appears. When it appears at all among the distorted remains of official history, there the alliance between the humans and the giants is remembered. The war is remembered. The smoke over the cities is remembered. And the cry of those who could not escape in time can still be heard. The ancestral technology that was destroyed or hidden is remembered. Okay. And that path is still followed, like the one that was implanted in our lands not too long ago through the transistor, opening a different path that today brings us closer to telling these stories. I'm going to show you a picture. This is a real picture, and it's an older picture of Tartaria. And before that, I'm going to show you the dome world where she's at right now. Okay. So just check this out. This is her. So you see how their buildings look so much different than ours. And I'm going to show you this. This is a picture of William with a spacecraft in the background. All right. Now I'm going to show you a picture of Tartary, and this was in the 1700s. This was like during what we call the reset. That would be like right after before 1776. Creation of quote unquote said Constitution, the War of 1812, all the wars that were done here that I've talked about so much on this page, and as well as around the world. I've shared Guy Anderson's work, Jamil Shamshi-Din. I've shared quite a few different authors and talked about Tartary in itself, and I even shared this book here about Tartaria. Okay, holding it up so you can get a screenshot. But this is a picture, and this is what it looked like before the destruction. All right. This is like 300 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Look, I'm gonna hold it up so you can see it. You see the spacecraft? You see the grand buildings? Virtually every single continent all around this world has these buildings there, especially here in the Americas. But they did a number over here because, like I said, this is ground zero. This is why they work so hard to destroy this place with this red and blue crap and with the people who say they are, but they're not. The synagogue of Satan, Revelations 3 and 9, Revelations 2 and 9. Go look it up. So I'm going to show this one more time. This is an older photograph, but I'm going to show you. Okay. Giants walking in the street. They were out in the open. Grand Tartary. 8 to 10, 12 feet tall. U.S. has the most mounds anywhere in the pyramids or in the Americas. Let me put it in Americas. All right. This is it. Okay. So I wanted to just come on here really quick and show you that. Like I found a video that this young lady had posted. I think it was on TikTok, but I found it on Instagram. It was on my reels. I might try to reshare it. And it shows you the crafts. It shows you the bombings. This was an old Vatican footage video that they had released. And so people are like, oh, that's fake. That's not real. Well, now with AI, there's so much that either it's quite hard to tell if it's fake or not. But I'm going to tell you, this is an older video. It's in black and white. And to me, it looks real. I'm just telling you. And I have tons of pictures and maps on Tartary. So I'm telling you, when I look at the certain things, I'm like, okay, yeah, that is older and it is from Tartary. So I just wanted to come on here and read those 2 pages to you, or a couple pages. We read the ancestral promise of liberation. When I come back, I'm going to read the indirect intervention. The seed was delivered, the transitor. We're going to talk about the Orion, the down spacecraft. I'm going to show you pictures of the actual UFO. And, I'm going to show you that, and I'll just hold it up real quick so you can get an idea. This was a craft that they downed. Now, what they've been doing, I told you guys to go check out the movie from Bob Lazar, S4. It's on Amazon. I think it's like $20. You can buy it. Back in the 80s, they were reverse engineering craft. Okay. But you got to look, it goes back to the 40s and 50s. MJ-12 was set up. All right. And they've been reverse engineering these crafts for a long time. So some of the Tic Tac crafts that Trump released last week and the week before last, some of those are actually ours. So I need you to understand that our shadow government underground and also on the surface, and these like Raytheons and, oh God, there's so many different ones, but Raytheon comes to mind off the top of my head, that have these black budget programs that the government funnels millions of dollars in for them to reverse engineer these craft. And now we have a space force. You got to ask yourself, why do we have a space force? And why are they now releasing all this information? It's because they're getting ready to go through another reset, and they want to prime us for it. They have to get all the structure set up. They want to unalive as many people as possible, but yet they still need some people here. And so there are going to be people that are going to go underground. The rich millionaires with those bunkers, like we see. Hollywood entertainers, sports icons, they think they're going to be safe. Okay. I'm just telling you. So I'm going to show you this picture real quick and I'm going to get off here. This is one of the crafts that were downed. And what they do is they use an EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon. And what it does is it sends a signal to whatever's up there. And basically, depending on what type of craft it is, it'll come down. So they've been known to go and hit it with an EMP, go retrieve the crash site. They have a team now. They've been doing this stuff for years. They have teams that are on call, go teams that'll go out there and retrieve the UAP, okay, and take it back to wherever they have a hangar or standby on a truck, craft, whatever. They got this stuff all planned out. Here it is right here. Look. And you can see where it downed, where it's exploded. Look, where it slid on the ground. All of this stuff. This is public record now. I mean, this is in this book, but they're releasing stuff now with the Freedom of Information Act. So you guys can go check that out. But I'll be back on again to read another section. I appreciate you guys joining me. And again, I'm reading from We Will Intervene, Claudio Naselli, Mr. Nos Confundrum. There's Helen Morris on the front. And we've got a lot to discuss. So anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing day and I'll talk to you soon.